else to go, trying to find all by design, feeling all this power, reckless and devour, traveling the sound, never backing down, wanting to find more. Wandering alone, nowhere else to go, trying to find all by feeling all this power, reckless and devour, traveling the sound, never backing down, wanting to find more. Everlasting light, standing by your side. Take my hand tonight. You just can't deny. We will survive. Me far from the city to survive where everything shines and everything is pretty. All I think about is us soaking in the sun, not one little buzz. Before I met you, it turned to us.
Oh my goodness. Holy crap. My mic has been off this whole time. Chat. Oh my gosh. Let me down here. I had no idea the mic was off. Here I am yammering away about this game. Okay. Hopefully the levels are good. Let me bring the audio down, the music down a little bit. At least hopefully you've been enjoying the tunes then, at least. Oh, jeez. Okay, so welcome to the stream. What's up? Usually I do talk quite a bit on here. We're making asteroids. We're getting rotation input, user input going here. We're gonna get thrust going next. Okay. So, what I was yammering on about with the thrust stuff is I recently just added the thrust speed. So like the amount we're going to change the thrust per frame while the key is held down. So in our update, right, if the thrust is held down, then we want to increase, the up key is held down, we want to increase the thrust by the thrust amount, the current thrust, up to whatever the maximum is. I'm going to clip it at the maximum. So, maybe we're going to use this little cool hand. I didn't know about this, by the way. I was pretty excited about this. So if you didn't see that in my facial expressions, I learned that you can assign variables using the guard syntax that we use on functions quite a bit. So that's cool too. So thrust, if the game state up button is pressed, right, and game state player thrust plus the thrust we're going to change amount, the amount we're going to change by, the current player thrust and the game state player thrust amount, or speed is less than the game state player thrust max. And then this should be the amount of this. Otherwise, 0. It's kind of really going over the left there. All right. So the amount of thrust we will add this tick will be equal to the current player's thrust plus the thrust speed, as long as the up button is pressed and the current thrust plus the thrust speed is less than the thrust max, which is probably less than equal to. No, less than. We want it to be less than, because then when we add it, if it gets to thrust max thrust max, or if we were to add the thrust speed and it would go over the thrust max, we want it to just stay the same, actually. This is gonna speed up, and as soon as it hits... Yeah, as soon as this is no longer true anymore, actually, this is gonna be wrong, because it's gonna go back to 0. Whereas we want it to continue at the clipped amount. So this isn't quite right. No, we probably shouldn't guard this. We should probably increase the amount. Game state thrust. So the thrust should be whatever the amount is. And I'm going to write a function for this. I'm going to clamp this. I'm going to call it clamp. So we're going to clamp the game state layer thrust plus the amount we want to add to it or change it by. Thrust speed to the game state layer thrust max. Oh, did I not call it thrust max? What did I call it? Max thrust. Oh, okay. I'm just going to change it around. Max. Yeah. Just to be a little bit consistent. There. Okay. Okay. Then I just have to find clamp. Some numeric value. A is what we're going to clamp to. A is what we're going to the input value, and we're going to return some A. Okay, so this becomes pretty trivial. If value is greater than clamp max, then it should just be clamp max. Otherwise, value. All right. We need ord. Yeah, that looks a little better. Okay, and so that's our new thrust amount. There's a redundant constraint, apparently. What's that all about? Pop, pop, pop. Oh, okay. We don't need the num instance here, so we don't use it. That's cool. Thank you, Haskell. The idea with clamp right, we give it 10, and if like current player's thrust is 9.99, and we try to add 0.8. All right, we just get 10. If it's just 9.0 and we try to add 0.8, we get 9.8. That's how it should work. Cool. So, just to make sure that this is happening and it's having the right behavior we want, let's just import a little debug.trace. Import qualified debug.trace as debug. And in our update function, where should we do this? Should I do it in the... it's going to be really noisy if I put it in there. Yeah, I'll put it right here. Debug, got trees. Layer thrust. Game states. Layer thrust. And I'm going to tie that to an action. Yeah. Cool. Let's run it. Check it out. It's 3.0. Shouldn't be getting up there. That's not quite right. Oh, right, because we don't decrease it. All right, we're always increasing the thrust speed here. We're not checking for the key press. So we still need to interrogate for the key press. Game state up button pressed. Equals clamp. Game set to die. Otherwise, so in the otherwise case, yeah, we can return to 0 here. Right, because in the first case, if the game button is pressed, we're always clamping to the max thrust value anyway, so it's safe to just do the this calculation we want to. We could probably avoid it if we want to, but the addition's not that easy. Let's not chase that right now. So otherwise, 0.0. And so that'll coast. That'll coast. So that'll go up to our max thrust speed, and if we don't touch the up button, it'll stay at the max thrust speed, actually. So we don't need, yeah. Oh no, that'll set the thrust amount. So if this is not true, then yeah, it's 0, and that'll set the thrust amount to 0. Yeah, so that'll go back to 0. Yeah. Okay, cool. So if we rebuilt, we should run this again. And I should hold down the up button. It's not changing, it doesn't look like. Okay. Dues, because we're not passing that in. Game state up button pressed. So we need W pressed. So any event is W press events. Key code W. Oh, didn't spell that right. There we go. Okay, so we're passing the key code in now to our update state, so that should be caught by the system now. Okay, and so we can see it's hard to see because it's flickering, but the numbers are changing. They're not increasing. Increasing to about 0.2 and then back down to 0. Right? Of 0 and then a 0, 0 and a 0.2 and a 0, 0, 0 and a 0.2 and a 0, 0, 0, 0. Ah, okay. Let's see. Why is that happening? So, this determines if we're going to increase, otherwise we return to 0. If we're hitting 0, 0, 0, 0, and then a 0.2, and then more zeros, either this condition is changing several times, right? As we loop through the update here, this sort of game state physics integration loop, which I'm not sure it is, or this isn't necessarily picking up that the key is pressed on every frame. I don't know if that seems quite likely. Oh, yes, that could explain it. Because if we look at the keyboard input code, we're looking at the keyboard event. We're looking that it was pressed on this frame. The spacing of these is fairly regular. Not always regular, but fairly. It's possible that what it's doing, like, it's doing a key repeat. Alright, so I press it once. There's some amount of delay, and then, like, it pressed again, and then some amount of delay, it presses again. Registers as a press again and again and again and again and again. It's not checking that the key state, that it's, like, still pressed. Right, it was pressed this frame. Yes or no? Right, we want to know, this update code wants to know what the current state of the button is. All right, so if the user hasn't let go of that key yet, it should still return true on this frame. All right, we haven't changed the state of the key or of the key press. We need to fix that in order to get Rust to work properly with keyboard input. So, I'm going to check in what we have here as a work in progress commit, and we're going to fix the input handling code to track the button state. So add player ship Rust. Okay. So now we're gonna check. We're gonna have a state. We're gonna have to track the button state in our code. Button state. Button state up. These could all be flags. Left and right. The initial button state, we'll just set everything false. Okay. So now, when we detect, what we want to do with this button state, right, is we want to detect, like, when the key press happens, if the state of the button, our current, say, we're pressing the W key, and our button state is currently, so true will mean it's pressed, or currently pressed, and false will mean it's not, no longer pressed. So when that key press event is detected, and this is false, then we will have a state transition. The button will be in the pressed state. So then it'll be true. Okay. We also have to detect, so, and then, and the same thing for the other state. Well, sometimes I find it's a little bit handy to have a table. Alright, so key press event, button state, next button state. So the key press is key down, W. Alright, so if this current tick, key down is W and the button state is false, the next button state will become true. And then if we have key down at W and the button state is true, and it stays true. So we need a way to turn the button back to false again. We're missing a next state that goes to false. We actually have to track key up. So it's key up and true. And now we turn it to, we can transition to false. it's no longer pressed. And if we have key down W, and it's, oh, we already have that state. If we have key, sorry, the other one's, yeah, if we have key up W, it's false. Wow, we have a problem here. Okay. That means our button tracking code isn't working. But it's also fairly benign potential error, right? It could be just like the key down case and true. We might detect this event and it's we might detect the key up event somehow, and we're in the false state, and then we could just stay in the false state because it would be false otherwise if it was in the other case. So technically problematic, but not really. That seems fine. Alright, so we need to know let's see, is do we want to do button mappings already at this point? It's getting a little architecture-y for my taste. It is something you ultimately want to do. Yeah, we want to go fast a little bit with this, so we'll just do it as an expression. So where are we going to add the button state to our game state here? Let's refactor this out. That should be good. And then we can get rid of all of these. Game state, button state, unit, button state. Yes. Okay, we got some errors here. Alright, so here's where we're going to need to do our state transition checking. Key presses. So let's get our button state out. Oh, we already have it out. So Q is pressed. So our next button state, let's do that. Let's do it that way. So this will be a buttons game state button state. Such that the what do we call the button state upfield? Button state up equals something. Button state down equals something. Button state left equals something, and button state right equals something. Alright, and then we can get rid of these. We'll say game state button state equals button state. Right. We need to add an equation show instance to our handy dandy little record. Okay. And we got a couple more things we gotta fix. What is it? Yeah? So our turnabout code stuff needs to be updated because we didn't update it. So that's fine. Yeah, so this will be button state left of the game state button state. And this becomes button state right game state button state. And this becomes a similar simple transformation to button state up game state button state. Cool. And GC is probably not quite happy with this yet. Yeah, so we have our holes left to fill in. Okay, that's what we want. Okay, so given our magical table, okay, where W is pressed. W pressed is true. And button state up of game state, button state is false. The otherwise case should be true. Can I use this syntax inside the record? Like that? No? Okay, so maybe I can move this out to an assignment up here. Up button. That should be good. It seems kind of weird that we have true and true in both branches. But, I mean, that's what we have in our table too, right? Um, actually, the other branch we need to check is the key up event, so... And is W up event. Yoki W, something like that. Then we have W up and button state up, for the game state button state. In other words, it's pressed. And that's true. So if both of those conditions are true, then this should be false, flip to false. And now our otherwise case will just be whatever the last state was, just stay there. Yeah, something like that. So we just have to implement is keyboard up. Pretty simple. Oh, we should probably call it keyboard key up. Yeah, that's right. Okay, keyboard key up. It's not, is it? What goes in there? STL.pressed. Released. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. These should be mutually exclusive, hopefully. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, this is the minimum amount of code we need for this. Nothing else is reacting to the button states at the moment. I'll just leave button state down. I just want to test this as quickly as possible with the W key there. Button state down of the game state. State left and right, we will just make A pressed and D pressed. A little note. All three of those. Okay. So that should compile. And if we run it, I think we'll still get our turning. Works. If I hold pressed up Yeah, it goes right up to 3, drops to 0. Goes right up to 3, drops to 0. Relatively quickly, too. Okay. Cool. That was good. Did a little work there. So let's do the same for the other buttons, and then we'll try and refactor and clean this up a bit. So we need Q up. Events. We need A up. Events. B up. Right. Is keyboard up and the all code B. Same for A. And Q. Well, we don't know. Q we don't need. Just A up, D up, W up so far. And then we need left button state and right button state. And then a couple of holes to fill in. Okay, so the left button state and right button state. Very similar formulas to this. Okay, so instead of left, we want, instead of W pressed, we want A pressed, and not button state up and button state left. A up and button state up. No, we want that left, button state left. Otherwise, button state left. Gotta get rid of that. And the same here, but for right. This will be D pressed and not button state right. D up and button state right. Otherwise, button state right. Last state. We're in. Maintain it. Okay. So that'll compiles. I suspect we will have the same behavior as we had before. Everything should just probably work. In fact, we have a little bit more responsiveness now, since we're not cracking just the key down state anymore. This feels much nicer. Before, I'd press the key down, and you can't really see it on screen because you can't see my fingers, but you press the button down, it would kind of like go tick, and then start go tick, 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 tick. And I think that's what the effect was, because it was we were polling for the key down with key pressed event, which when you have key repeat enabled on a keyboard, it will do periodically when after you hit down a key after something called like a delay. Yeah, so just holding it down here, watching it spin, and let go. So that's a lot more responsive. That's pretty nice. And then the thrust works as we expect. Cool. Or at least the thrust goes up to max and then goes back down to 0 when we let go, which is great. Okay. So the only one is this button states 2 for a button down. We might as well just go ahead and add that, and then we can refactor a little bit. Is S down, is S press, event, key code S, SDL dot key code S. Hole there, and we'll do the down button. I'll just go here. Okay, so S is pressed, and button state down isn't yet. S or S up happened, and the button state down is true. And we switch to false. Otherwise, keep the last state of the button state down. Down button state. Okay. So that's compiling. That's good. Let's commit that as a work in progress. And then let's work on see if we can squeeze this code down a little bit. It's fairly repetitive. Some of it's necessary repetition, maybe, perhaps, but maybe there's a way we can do it. Okay. So they all follow the same state transitions. We're just changing different parts of the structure with different conditions. All right. And we have different data that we have to pull for it and get out of this list of events. And they have a relationship, like I was saying, W press and W up should be exclusive. If SDL is doing its job properly, which hopefully it is, it should. I don't think we'll ever get a frame where these two events fired at the exact same time. But I'm not sure if that's 100% true. Maybe if you tap it super fast, it's possible. I'm curious. SDL, key up, and key down, same frame. Yeah. So the events come through in an event queue. In the time that we are processing a frame, SDL is taking input events from the target platform that it's compiling, it's working on, right? And we use poll event to, and basically, I think basically empty out that queue and get all of the events that have happened. So this is like the C code that kind of does it. So it modifies, if we pull the event, and we have like some event structure initialized wherever, and we pass it in to poll event, it returns a boolean to say like there's still more events, and it basically modifies what this points to. So C-ish type stuff. But yeah, I'm curious if the queue can have, well, it won't have them at the same time. It's queue. So they will happen one after the other. So yeah, they would be exclusive. So even if we had like a super amount of jitter where they pressed it like super fast, we would still get them one at a time off the queue, and hopefully whatever this Haskell wrapper library is doing with this SDL pull events action is also getting them in the same order. So they'll be exclusive. So yeah, we should never get a case where W pressed and W up, I think, is ever true at the same time. It's either one or the other. So there is some, I think there's some kind of relationship between them that maybe we could take advantage of in this refactoring, perhaps. Because we might get a key up event, but that doesn't, the absence of a key pressed event doesn't necessarily mean that key up is going to be there. It could be neither. They could be mutually exclusive. So that's possible too. Right, on this frame, like no key is pressed, nothing is happened, they would both be false. I don't know if there's a way to compress all of these queries. I mean, if we make these two functions into one function and just parameterize the key event as a parameter, that will not change a whole lot. So, probably not worth doing that. We'll have one function, and it'll remove some of the, maybe it's okay. Maybe we can do that. I mean, it's not, I don't feel like it's going to buy a whole lot. SDL.event. What was that type of that again? SDL dot key event data key code. Yeah, something. I'll write it without the type. Is keyboard key, right? And the event, key state, and key code. And we could take this, put this in here. We just replace SDL.pressed with key state. That's pretty much the same thing. Alright, then let's put the type in there for us here. Input motion. Okay, that's the type. Alright, then supposedly we can get rid of these. What we can do is keyboard key. Actually, let's do it like this. Is keyboard key event SDL.pressed. And this one, keyboard key event SDL.released. All right, so like, it compressed it in one small area, but it doesn't really compress the fact that we still have to check the keys, the state of the keyboard key. And then we have to filter out the events that we get from SDL.pull events to get using those functions to get the current state. I wonder, could we maybe do something like key press where we have a key press structure that contains key press down, and give this the function we can replace a bunch of this control flow with data structure. We might be able to build a map of this. A map of the button state, basically. No, it'll just be event to key code to bool. With the key. Then we have to do that. Sorry, it's not key code, it's key code. Okay. And then, what do we get for the key press? A state. Alright, this will take an STL.event, a key press, and return the Boolean. We might not even need that. If we had such a function to take that event, could we do that? All right, this will be event, key press with two functions is down, key press down and key press up, and the key press key. Event is key press. No, we don't need, that is that function. So we would just have key pressed. Key pressed. Key pressed down. Event. Key released, key press up, event, and in, we have to use key pressed and key released. We need the button state. Maybe instead of a bool, we return a button state. Maybe we can do that. The button state comes first. Right. So now we know the key pressed and key released, and we have a button. We can implement this set of conditions here. That would be equivalent to key pressed and not. Now, we have to kind of get rid of button state up, button state left, because we don't know which one to use here. But apparently we could do something, right? Some formula for this. It's an equation that abstracts over this. the state of the button we're interested in. Yeah, maybe we're getting a little too deep here for this. Or we could just do it as like a map data structure instead of maybe a record. Because then we could treat the keys just as like regular data. At the expense of like a little bit of... Well, we can make the keys of a specific type. That actually might be better. Yeah, and then we can compress this down to a map. That would be a good thing to do. But, unfortunately, we're running low on time this week, friends. So, we're going to have to finish this refactor next week. So I'm going to back out of it a little bit. I'm going to leave what we've done so far with this refactor here. With East keyboard key. And yeah, we'll do mappings next week. We'll do a button mapping next week. And that'll segue a little bit into being able to, well, that'll leave us what I like to call an affordance in our code for later on down the road, adding an abstraction that will abstract away the buttons that we talk like up, down, left, right. So you can use like controllers or keyboards and be able to have multiple mappings to those logical like keys that our game update loop cares about. Not going to be super important for this project probably, so if we do that, it'll be kind of a bonus, I guess. Because again, I want to keep the scope of this fairly small, just so we can get a taste of what it's like to build arcade-style games in Haskell. So let's commit this. Yeah, let's just quick review. So we add small refactoring to remove a little bit of duplication of the keyboard up, keyboard down. That's fine. Remove duplication. Okay, let's reorder our commits and squash things down to make things look nice. Let's just squash it all down. That's kind of that'll be kind of make things kind of big. Let's see, button state stuff. Yeah, so let's squash all the key press input handling stuff to one commit, and the player input control rotation can be its own, I think. I think that'll work. No, it won't. Because this one contains... Oh, that should be fine. This, okay, this looks like... Oh, well, let's get rid of that debug hunk. Where did we change the button state? Where did I do that? And then the game loop there. So I wanted to get rid of just this here. Oh, I can't get rid of that. Oops. Okay. Squash these up to here. We'll squash these down. I'll reword this one. Yeah. So add key state handling. Button state handling. Adds button state, the game state. The game can now track the current state of a button frame to frame. This enables smoother interaction. Now things still recompile. Okay, so let's run it. Make sure that is all. Yep. Okay, thrust still good. Turning still good. Okay, so it looks good then. Makes sense. We just have to get rid of the debug.trace module still, I think. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. Cool. No. Yep, report this base. In here, let's push that down. Yeah, this is low. It's like it never happened. Okay, there we go. That looks good. We'll push that to master. So, if you like what you saw tonight and you want to follow along with the code, hack around and make your own asteroids, check it out. This is where you can get the code. It's under Asteroids on Agent Ultra. Where that's what I'm calling my Asteroids clone officially. And there you go. So it's on GitHub. You can check it out there. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I do these streams once a week on Tuesday evenings, usually in the Eastern Daylight Savings time zone. Whatever time zone we're in right now. It's the Eastern one. And of North America's area. That kind of thing. Anyways. About 8 o'clock in the evening. And the best way to get notified of when I go online for a stream, because sometimes I do surprise streams and things like that, is to, of course, follow here. And if you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do there. You can like and subscribe and all that. And that'd be great. So I'm Agent Ultra. You can find me on the socials, on GitHub at Agent Ultra, on Twitter at Agent Ultra, on the Fediverse at types.pl as Agent Ultra. And yeah, mail your monads check, mail your types. I got that backwards. Mail your monads be free and may your types always check. Take care, have a good week. Bye bye.